The adventure continues. Let's recap everything from Star Trek Strange New World Season 3. The story continues with the Enterprise being attacked by Gorn fighters near Parnassus Beta. Admiral April orders a retreat, but Pike stays and uses Una's plan to jam Gorn communications. To track the ship carrying their captured crew, Spock suggests using a rare element inside a dud torpedo. Uhura finds the correct shield frequency, allowing the Enterprise to ram the Gorn ship and fire the tracker before meeting Admiral April. In sickbay, Chapel prepares Batel for cryogenic stasis, but she is allergic to the serum. Spock helps Chapel search for another solution. April privately encourages Pike to fight back against the Gorn, despite Starfleet's political limits. In engineering, Pelia pushes Scotty to finish a device that makes the Enterprise appear to be a Gorn ship, allowing them to cross into a dangerous binary star system. On the Gorn ship, Leon escapes captivity and frees M'Benga, Sam Kirk, and an injured Ortegas, whose arm has been partially digested. She vows to save the remaining captives. On the Enterprise, Spock and Chapel discover Batel's life is linked to the embryos. While discussing their relationship, Chapel plans to study under Roger Corby and suggests using Una's Illyrian blood to save Batel. At the same time, the away team plans to steal a Gorn ship, while Una and Uhura learn that certain stellar phenomena can force the Gorn into hibernation. The Enterprise follows the Gorn deeper into the radiation zone. As Beta's condition worsens, Pike realizes the system may be the Gorn homeworld, just as hundreds of Gorn ships appear. To stop the invasion, Pike decides to turn the Enterprise into a stellar flare by magnetizing its hull and collecting solar energy. In sickbay, Spock and Chapel treat the embryos directly, feeding them so they reabsorb into Batel's body. On the Gorn ship, Lehan recovers important colonist data, rescues Ortegas during a battle, and reaches the ship they plan to steal. The Enterprise drops its disguise to attract the Gorn while gathering solar energy. Uhura uses Lashan's codes to beam the Parnassian survivors aboard. The massive stellar flare forces the Gorn fleet to retreat. The away team escapes, and a badly wounded Ortegas collapses after piloting the ship back. Spock and Chapel successfully save Batel, and Chapel kisses Spock. Later, Pike visits Batel as she recovers, and the Enterprise leaves the system. 3 months later, the damaged Enterprise is repaired at Starbase 1 as Pike prepares for the Federation Centennial Gala. Leon teaches Spock how to dance while he waits to welcome Chapel home with a gift, only to discover she has brought Roger Corby as her date. In sickbay, M'Benga confirms Batel has fully recovered after absorbing the Gorn embryos. Later, Chapel returns Spock's gift and questions his coldness, but gives him no clear answer. Chapel invites Spock to join her and Corby for drinks. At the bar, a disguised Trelane gives Spock a special drink. That night, Spock wakes up beside Chapel, who tells him it is bad luck to sleep together before their wedding. 3 months later, the crew is preparing for Spock and Chapel's wedding, while Trelane, disguised as an Andorian wedding planner, oversees the ceremony, and Corby serves as the best man. Corby secretly tries to delete Spock's wedding vows but is caught. He reveals that reality has been altered. They try to warn Pike, but no one believes them. Following an unknown lifeform to the galley, they confront Trelane, who admits he changed reality to grant Spock's wish. When they refuse the wedding, he places the ship on red alert and teleports everyone to the ceremony. During his vows, Spock repeats words from Chapel's late mother that Corby remembers from the true timeline. Chapel realizes the truth, rejects the marriage, and runs to Corby, causing Trelane to threaten everyone. Trelane's father suddenly appears, restores Corby, scolds Trelane for his jealousy, and forces him to restore reality. Later, Spock accepts Leon's invitation to dance. Pike's time with Batel is interrupted when her Gorn infection suddenly returns. Spock identifies the rare Chimera blossom from the forbidden world of Kenfor as the only cure. Pike secretly organizes a mission and insists on accompanying M'Benga. They land on the seemingly lifeless planet and find the blossoms inside an abandoned facility. After collecting a sample, they discover a severed foot nearby and hear an unknown roar. A Klingon battlecruiser arrives at Kenfor, and a Klingon shuttle destroys Pike's shuttle. 3 Klingon warriors begin hunting Pike and M'Benga. On the Enterprise, Spock uses a mind meld to ease Batel's pain, experiencing terrifying visions from the Gorn infection. When Pike misses his check-in, Una gathers the senior staff. Spock suggests a cautious 4-hour rescue mission, while Ortegas proposes a dangerous but faster plan. Una chooses Spock's safer approach, frustrating Ortegas. On the planet, Pike and M'Benga discover the Chimera blossom was combined with an immortal moss that turns the dead into plant zombies. After surviving a zombie attack, 2 Klingons rescue them, but one is killed soon after. As the Enterprise approaches the planet, the Klingon cruiser detects them and raises its shields. The survivor Bela reveals she is Dakra's daughter and stabs Pike. demanding revenge for her father's death. M'Benga admits he deliberately killed Jakaru and would do it again. Bela challenges him to ritual combat. Although M'Benga defeats her, he spares her life, which she considers a dishonor. When the force field protecting them begins to fail and zombies attack, Bela sacrifices herself to save Pike and M'Benga, allowing Scotty to beam them aboard the Enterprise. The ship escapes at warp. Pike promises not to report M'Benga's actions, while Una suspends Ortegas for 2 weeks for intentionally exposing the Enterprise to the Klingons. Elsewhere, Captain Maxwell Saint battles brain-stealing aliens aboard the retro Starship Adventure, later revealed to be a holodeck simulation. While the Enterprise studies a neutron star, Pike and Una ask Leanne to test the new holodeck technology. Inspired by the Amelia Moon novels, she creates a 1960s detective mystery, with Scotty recreating the crew as its characters. As Amelia Moon, La'an investigates the murder of movie producer Tony Hart in a mansion. She suspects producer Sonny Lupino, who claims she wanted to save Last Frontier, but Sonny is poisoned and dies after drinking from her glass. Scotty warns Leanne that the simulation is using too much power, so she asks Spock to join the investigation. Saint admits to an affair with Hart's secretary, while the other suspects speak about Last Frontier's cancellation. Moon finds a screenplay missing its cover page before a chandelier nearly kills her. When Spock notices her cut, they realize the safety protocols have failed. Scotty reveals the holodeck is locked and draining dangerous amounts of power, making solving the mystery their only way out. They find Woods stabbed to death beside Gloss, who denies killing her. Moon discovers hidden film inside a fireplace. Outside, the collapsing neutron star drains the Enterprise's power, but Ortegas pilots the ship away from a gamma-ray blast, while Scotty stabilizes the systems. The film shows Bellows learning he was replaced on the show, and Scotty briefly appears to urge Leanne to finish the case. Bellows confronts them with a gun, claims his innocence, and shoots Spock. Seeing his minor wound, Leanne realizes Spock is a hologram created by the rogue holodeck. Solving the mystery ends the program. Later, Leanne and Spock admit their feelings during a dance lesson and share a kiss. After 6 months aboard the Enterprise, Ensign Gamble records his medical log before M'Benga prepares Batel's treatment. Pike briefs the crew on a planet that has repeatedly refused Federation membership. Chapel, Gamble, Batel, and Uhura beam down to meet Corby and Jal, while the Enterprise uncovers an ancient hidden temple. Inside the temple, communications and transporters are blocked. Gamble discovers several corpses before activating a glowing orb that destroys his eyes and transports him back to sickbay, where M'Benga sedates him. Pike orders an evacuation, but Njal is killed by security lasers, trapping the away team inside. Gamble's eyes refuse to regenerate despite treatment. The team realizes their survival is linked to Chapel's biology and ventures deeper into the temple. Chapel discovers the statue exists in quantum instability, while Spock and Corby find thousands of glowing orbs, one containing a demonic entity. In sickbay, Gamble becomes possessed and reveals himself as Vizda, speaking about M'Benga's daughter Rukia. When Batel arrives, she immediately speaks with Vizda in an ancient language. Batel and Vizda fight, but Pike's arrival allows Vizda to escape. M'Benga sedates Batel and pursues Vizda, who takes a hostage. Inside the temple, Chapel discovers the statue is alive but unstable. Spock's injured hand mysteriously heals, and the team realizes they exist in different dimensions occupying the same space. Spock concludes the temple is a prison for beings seeking immortality through interdimensional travel. Uhura finds instructions on a pedestal, and by combining their artifacts, Chapel reunites the team into one dimension, though their exit disappears. Meanwhile, Vizda tricks a guard named Rex, chokes him through the force field, and escapes from the brig. Spock realizes Chapel is the key to crossing the dimensional bridge, allowing the away team to escape the temple. In engineering, Vizda takes Sam, Pelia, and Scotty hostage and demands command codes, but Pelia shoots him. Scotty traps the ghostly entity, leaving Gamble's body inside an orb and stores it in the transporter buffer. Later, Pike debriefs the crew while M'Benga warns that freeing the imprisoned entities could endanger the galaxy. Pelia fears the remaining entities may escape, and as M'Benga informs Gamble's family of his death, the computer displaying Vizda's data begins flickering ominously. Aboard the U.S.S. Farragut, James T. Kirk grows frustrated with Captain Varel's cautious leadership. When an unknown object crashes onto a nearby planet, both the world and the Farragut suffer catastrophic damage. The Enterprise arrives to help, but a massive alien salvage ship suddenly swallows it whole and disappears at warp. Acting Captain Kirk learns the vessel is an ancient salvage ship. Inside it, Pike orders the crew to restore power while Scotty discovers Klingon ship fragments, proving no one has escaped before. On the Enterprise, Pike, Lehan, and a security officer explore the gas-filled corridors in EV suits. Pelia reveals an alien tentacle is draining the ship's power. When scavengers attack and kill the security officer, Pike and Leanne escape using an exploding liquor bottle as a distraction. Encouraged by Spock, Kirk regains his confidence and turns the damaged Farragut into bait by flooding its plasma manifolds with antimatter particles. The Farragut warns Pike, who forces the tentacle to retract, while Una depressurizes an airlock to push the Enterprise to safety. Spock fires photon torpedoes into the salvage ship's open mouth, destroying it completely. A scan reveals over 7,000 faint life signs trapped inside the wreckage, all human and impossible to rescue. Kirk discovers a United States flag and an early Starfleet insignia on the hull, while Uhura identifies it as a lost pre-first contact human colony ship. Later, Pike assures Kirk that Captain Peril will recover and praises his leadership, reminding him that empathy, even for an enemy, is part of being a captain. Documentary-style interviews with Pike, Ortegas, Spock, Leon, and Una are interrupted when the Enterprise is assigned to deliver a giant space creature called a Jakaru to Lutani 7. At Tychus B, the creature is attacked by a Lutanian scout ship and releases an energy burst that disables the Enterprise before the dying pilot warns that using it is a mistake. Uhura reflects on losing her friend during the Gorn attack on the U.S.S. Cayuga. Pike warns Starfleet Command, photon torpedoes only make it stronger, and it attacks the Enterprise. Pike, Spock, Chapel, and Uhura attempt to communicate with it aboard the shuttle Galileo. Through a psychic connection, Spock senses no hostility, but a Lutanian warship provokes the creature, severely injuring both Spock and Chapel. McGregor reveals Chapel will recover, while Spock must enter a coma. He also discovers the creature's brain has been altered to feel only violence. Uhura risks permanent brain damage to establish a neural link and learns the Jakaru wishes to die peacefully inside a nearby star. Pike draws it away from the Lutanians and promises to protect its children and make Tychus B a sanctuary. The Jakaru willingly enters the star and dies in peace. The Enterprise arrives at Pimento 3 for shore leave. Lon admits that she and Spock are romantically involved but have not defined their relationship, while Batel shows increased strength after her treatment. Their leave ends when Vulcan High Command requests help saving Tazar from a reactor meltdown caused by ancient Vulcan technology. Chapel transforms Pike, Una, Uhura, Leon, and herself into Vulcans using a serum based on Spock's physiology, though it fails on Pelia, forcing Spock to join the mission. The away team repairs the reactor within seconds using Vulcan logic, but Chapel discovers the transformation has become permanent and is changing their personalities. Una, Spock, and M'Benga confine them to the ship while searching for a cure. James T. Kirk arrives to visit his brother, while Leanne tells Kirk and Scotty she feels different and asks to see the ship's power data. Pike decides to remain Vulcan permanently and begins changing ship protocols. Spock suspects the transformation is affecting their minds, Pelia suggests speaking without Vulcan emotional control, and M'Benga proposes a risky Katra connection. Pike finds Leanne inspecting a Jeffries tube, where she claims the Enterprise will soon become unstoppable. They quietly acknowledge the Vulcan-Romulan connection. Chapel ends both her relationship with Corby and her friendship with Spock, while Lon creates a stealth code and orders Kirk and Scotty to upgrade the ship's weapons. Spock learns that a Katra expert named Doug, Una's ex-boyfriend, is nearby. Unable to focus around him, Una pretends to be married to Spock, and they continue the act over dinner, before Spock asks Doug for help, restoring everyone's Katras. Meanwhile, Pike argues it is illogical for Batel to return to work, causing her to throw him and Pasalk out of dinner. Doug discovers the marriage is fake, and Spock agrees to teach him about humanity in exchange for his help. Lon prepares to start a war between Alpha Quadrant powers. When Kirk objects, she beats him up, threatens Scotty, and heads to the warp core, where an electrical shock knocks her unconscious. Guided by Doug, Spock restores Chapel, Uhura, and Pike to normal, but Leanne refuses. Inside her Katra space, she fights Spock before accepting her human emotions and embracing him. Elsewhere, Pasalk offers Batel his position as head of Starfleet's Judicial Department. Later, Spock and Corby visit Chapel, who appreciates Spock's honesty. Lahan apologizes to Una and reveals she discovered Spock keeps spare socks in her quarters. Una admits she once stole a shuttle to visit Doug, who later arrives with roses, while Spock and Doug discuss strange human habits. While investigating gravity waves, Erica Ortegas is pulled through a wormhole and crash lands on a moon orbiting a gas giant. After sending a distress signal, she survives by building a water condenser and gathering supplies, but soon learns the moon will pass through the gas giant's toxic atmosphere. On the Enterprise, Uhura refuses to believe Ortegas is dead. After repeatedly failing rescue simulations, she continues searching for a solution. On the moon, Ortegas encounters a hooded Gorn that saves her from a giant insect, and later offers her insect meat. After she steals its communications array to create an SOS beacon, giant insects attack, but the Gorn saves her again and protects them with a force field. Uhura proposes taking the Enterprise through the wormhole and secretly changes the sensor efficiency estimate from 56% to 61% to gain Pike's approval. Meanwhile, Ortegas treats the Gorn's wounded leg and learns it is female. Using a modified tricorder, they begin communicating and bond while playing games. Ortegas converts the communications array into an SOS beacon, and they wonder why the wormhole is shrinking and why strange lights seem to be watching them. Realizing they have only one chance to survive, Ortegas ignites part of the gas giant's atmosphere using her flare and the Gorn's thruster pack to create a massive SOS signal. The Enterprise detects it, and Pike sends Lan's landing party to rescue her. When Ortegas and the Gorn emerge from their shelter, the Gorn instinctively protects her, causing Lan to immediately shoot and kill it, to Ortegas' horror. Flickering lights suddenly freeze time, and an ancient being called the Metron appears. It reveals that placing Ortegas and the Gorn together was an experiment to see if humans and Gorn could become allies. Although pleased with their friendship, the Metron requires more data and erases Ortegas' memory of the encounter while assuring her it was real. Time resumes, and the away team returns to the Enterprise. Later, Uhura comforts a grieving Ortegas who keeps the bone game piece given to her by her Gorn friend. Pike hosts a surprise promotion party for Batel, who becomes the director of Starfleet's JAG office. While the Enterprise undergoes diagnostics, Scotty discovers an anomaly in the medical transporter and reconstructs Gamble's pattern. Chapel receives a message from Roger Corby on Skygon, where the locals worship Vizda as a god. Gamble, possessed by Vizda, confronts Corby on the planet. Lawlin reports that Vizda activated the transporter from within, and Corby's distress beacon has gone silent. Pike sends Una and Lan to Skygon while Spock reviews the Vadia 9 data. After infiltrating the sacred area, the away team rescues Corby, who reveals that Vizda possesses Gamble. Nearby, Vizda orders his followers to gouge out their own eyes. The crew plans to imprison Vizda using the containment orbs. Corby reveals that Vizda is trying to pass through an ancient portal. Uhura discovers a Swahili inscription describing the first time M'Benga took a life. The portal scans M'Benga and opens, allowing Vizda to drag him into the containment well and shatter the crystalline prison holding the demon spirits. Back aboard the Enterprise, Batel suffers intense pain as her eyes and hands begin to glow. Chapel discovers that Batel's biosignature matches the living crystalline statue on Vadia 9. Inside the portal, M'Benga attacks Vizda with a knife, but security systems separate them into different chambers. Batel realizes that surviving the Gorn infection, the Chimera Blossom treatment, and Una's Illyrian blood awakened ancient defenses against Vizda, making her the eternal guardian of Vadia 9. Batel travels to Skygon with Pike. To power the portal, Spock and James T. Kirk perform a mind meld and synchronize the Enterprise and the Farragut, opening the gateway with simultaneous phaser blasts. M'Benga escapes and warns that Vizda is escaping before Vizda attacks with energy blasts. Pike is shown an alternate future where he and Batel celebrate anniversaries, raise a puppy, have a daughter named Juliet, avoid his destined accident, and grow old together before Batel peacefully dies. A knock at the door finally reveals Vizda. Reality returns as Batel confronts Vizda while the demon spirits escape. Declaring herself the eternal beholder, she destroys Gamble's body and seals Vizda back inside the well. Batel permanently transforms into the living statue guarding the prison, leaving Pike alone. The season ends as Skygon slowly recovers. Corby remains behind to continue his research and gives Chapel scans of unexplored space. Una supports the grieving Pike as the crew returns to duty. With enough discoveries to begin a new 5-year mission, Pike orders Ortegas to take the Enterprise to warp. If you want more recaps like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what series or movie you want to see next.